You too scared to ask what really turns your partner on? Well, the easiest way to ask what gets your partner off is to look at the type of porn they use. Hey everyone, I'm Claude, your friendly intimacy coach and sex educator, and I'm excited to open up this discussion on porn use. And yes, I said use because I believe that porn is a tool to be used responsibly and safely. Now, I know I just had a whole bunch of you roll your eyes and get a little bit angry with me, but hear me out. For many of us, our parents and the schooling system and the media in general have done a dismal job at educating us about sex, right from our younger ages through to adolescence. And that's the time that we really, really needed it because we were going to be doing things and getting involved in things, and we weren't completely familiar what it all entailed. Now, the stats speak for themselves, a topic for another article that I'm writing. But in countries where sex education is readily available and taught appropriately through school years, the rates of teenage pregnancy and STIs are far less than in countries where it is not. Now, with the current administration and more sex education curriculums being withdrawn and this fixation with abstinence teaching, things aren't looking too good. But through all this political, religious, and social bias, guess where youngsters and adults alike get their sex education? Porn. So, porn does fulfill a role here, not always an accurate one. If a young man enters a new sexual relationship with the understanding that he can get rock hard instantly and bang away for what seems like hours and climax after climax, he's going to be disappointed when reality sets in. Look, at the end of the day, porn is entertainment and fantasy, and it plays into that and tries to exclude the boring, the mundane, the embarrassing aspects of sex that are messy and sometimes just don't work out, which is completely normal. It does, however, open one's mind to the large menu on offer in terms of positions, kinks, fetishes, and many, many interesting ways to get off. Now, in this alone, it has opened up a world of possibilities for couples and individuals into the many ways sexual pleasure can be enjoyed. When it comes to exploring sexual pleasure, I'm all in, as long as there is consent and it doesn't hurt an individual or a couple. Now, we need to bear in mind that most people accompany pornography with masturbation. And once again, I'm a huge advocate of masturbation. To quote the wonderful Betty Dodson, the most consistent sex will be the love affair you have with yourself. Masturbation will get you through childhood, puberty, romance, marriage, and divorce, and it will see you through right through to old age. Now, if you've ever masturbated before, and I pray you have, if not, please contact me. You will know that porn certainly becomes useful when masturbating. It transports you out of your environment, out of your head, out of boredom, out of your financial woes, out of the kids banging on the door. It transports you to a whole other world, a fantasy world where anything is possible. And it makes it so much easier for you to climax. A safe place where in complete anonymity you can fantasize and enjoy erotic images and stories and scenarios that have a way of instantly turning you on, and for many, in no time, they are able to experience a most fulfilling climax. Now, I've heard all the arguments against porn, and I'm not going to say it's all nonsense. Yes, porn compulsion exists, just as addiction to food and shopping and almost everything else in the world that releases dopamine and adrenaline. For people who have addiction issues, porn may be best avoided in some cases. But for the majority of us, it's something we have engaged in since young and probably going to be something we make use of until we're old. So why all the taboo? Why all the shame? Patrick Carnes, a pioneer in the study of sex education, established that approximately 3 to 5% of the adult population meets the clinical criteria for sexual addiction, while millions access adult media without developing clinical impairment. True addiction requires persistent, compulsively driven behavior that occurs despite severe negative consequences to an individual's personal, professional, and emotional life. Biological anthropologist Helen Fisher argues that long-term use of SSRI antidepressants presents a significant neurological challenge to romantic relationships because these medications suppress both the drive for intimacy and the brain chemistry required for deep attachment. Fisher views erotic media as a tool to trigger the brain's natural reward system. So right here, Elevating the dopamine level and stimulating the endocrine system helps to drive the libido. So in this case, porn is actually healthy and useful. Now, just knowing how many people are on antidepressants, especially after the pandemic, it's not hard to imagine how couples' sex lives are taking a beating. Some consensual porn use together could go a long way in generating that much-needed spark when it's battling to flicker. Another excellent benefit to porn use for couples arises when there is a mismatched libido or sex drive. Now, this is a common issue couples face due to many fluctuating reasons, including life's ups and downs, hormonal changes, and aging. Achieving the exact same desire level as your partner has proven to be the number one challenge for most couples. Now, one way to navigate this is by using porn. How, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you. First way is it really does help in getting people in the mood. So if you have a responsive desire partner who has a lower desire level, porn can often be a powerful stimulant in getting them in the mood. Not always, but for many. For those where this doesn't really work, the couple can come to an agreement. Because being in a marriage or relationship is all about agreements and communication, right? The agreement can be, if you desire sex and I'm just not feeling it, we can watch porn together and you can masturbate, or I will masturbate you. Or if I'm really not in the mood, you can go into the next room and use porn and masturbate and return when you're done. There is consent, there is understanding, there are boundaries. And then the two can actually bond together after that. Now, some of you are asking, is porn used for us? This comes down to the partners of the relationship. Some partners, and this can be women and men, believe that porn is a type of betrayal. It's cheating. Others have a clearer boundary, seeing chat rooms, webcams, and interaction with actual porn creators as crossing the line and being a form of cheating. It is really up to you and your partner to establish safe and comfortable boundaries when it comes to porn use. First things to discuss would be, are we allowed to use porn by ourselves? Maybe perhaps only when one of you are traveling. That's something to discuss. Another line of questions to ask each other is, what interests you about exploring this together? Is it curiosity, variety, enhanced intimacy, or learning new things? And third question, are there specific genres, themes, or dynamics that excite you? And are there any hard limits or red line categories that are completely off limits? And fourth, what is our protocol if one of us feels uncomfortable or overwhelmed while watching or discussing something? Now, be mindful of the porn you use. I have some pretty conservative people in my life, so I'm very well aware of the uneasiness that porn conversations create. But not all porn needs to be what you think it is. There's audio erotica. Now, admittedly, I have not used much audio erotica, as it generally seems to be something more popular amongst women. But in my SAR, which is a sexual attitude reassessment program that I did for my studies, we listened to audio erotica, and I completely get the appeal. It was sexy and far more engaging than simply looking at naked people on a screen. The mind was able to imagine and fantasize and go to places. So for partners who are triggered by seeing explicit content or naked bodies on a screen, I highly recommend audio erotica. Then written erotica. Now, this is something I use in my Rekindle intimacy program for couples. Each partner creates a fantasy story involving their partner and gets the chance to act it out in some way. But I don't want to give too much of that away. Anyway, the point is that written erotica is also a fantastic form of sexual fantasizing. In fact, you may be surprised at picking up some of those old Mills and Boon books and reading some chapters to see what the fuss is all about. It's hot, sexy, and steamy. And then we've got ethical porn. Porn that focuses on human rights, safety, consent, and fair compensation for everyone involved. It emerged as an alternative to the traditional mainstream adult industry, which has historically been unfair, toxic, unrealistic, and a little bit sexist. And then there's user-generated porn. Now, this is where pornography has evolved and become far more inclusive and real, if you will. People of every size, nationality, ethnicity, gender, and age can create their own porn and put it up on websites like Fansly and OnlyFans. And that content can be very staged and acted like professional porn shoots, or they can be ultra realistic, where a couple are just recording themselves in their home, showing what they do. And then streaming platforms like Make Love Not Porn was founded to show what actual non-formula sex looks like. It features real-life couples of all ages, body types, and backgrounds engaging in unscripted lovemaking. And of course, the majority of people will always just simply appreciate the pure fantasy of typical porn with perfect-looking people and perfect performances. It is fantasy after all. Now, something I want to address here is how to know if your partner has a problem with porn, because this could be a real problem for some individuals and can be devastating to them and their relationships. Now, in clinical sexology, we have a clear definition of who falls into the category of sexual or porn compulsion, or out of control sexual behavior, as it's called. And that's defined as persistent, repetitive pattern of using pornography that feels out of control for the individual. The behavior serves as a coping mechanism instead of something they do for fun and for pleasure. It's causing the individual to neglect their professional duties, miss out on sleep, cause them financial harm, and be very destructive to their relationships. Now, as a couple's intimacy coach, it also concerns me when porn use creates conflict within the relationship. It doesn't necessarily mean the person using the porn is at fault, but therapy is needed to understand why the conflict exists and what can be done to correct this. Another important signal that porn use has now progressed to a harmful level is when it becomes the only way the individual can experience arousal, self-soothe, or achieve orgasm, displacing other healthy forms of intimacy and connection with their partner. Now, the good thing is that all hope is not lost. This is treatable. And I know that some of you needed to hear that. Things can change. Your marriage, your relationship can improve and can recover from this. Sexual compulsion is something that is treatable, so please seek help. Now, some of you are asking, how do I approach this topic with my partner? Now, a lot of you have been hiding your porn use from your partner. You probably have a fair amount of shame surrounding it, based on all the baggage you've picked up during childhood and perhaps even your religion or your culture. Since this is between you and your partner, the first thing you want to do is come up with a plan on how you're going to approach this. Now, the perfect time to talk about this is definitely not before, during, or after sex. You want your partner completely relaxed, but you also want them in a neutral environment that has nothing to do with your intimacy life. You want to be unconfrontational as possible. Now, I have a good suggestion for you. Perhaps think of talking about this when you're in a car, driving. The two of you are next to each other. There's no eye contact, and yet you are both stuck together for a period of time. So the conversation has to happen, and they can't simply walk off. But be careful how you approach that. And so here's tip number 2. Ask questions like, what are your feelings about porn use? Or what messages did you grow up with regarding porn? Now, depending on your relationship, you could even go as far as saying things like, what sort of porn really gets you horny? Or what gets you off? What sort of porn do you like? Now, if they're open to conversing about this, you then take it another step and say something like, do you think it would be fun to watch some porn together sometime? Or have you heard sexologists say that couples who listen to audio erotica together manage to spice up their sex lives? Suggest it in that way. Don't be upset if they simply do not want to talk about this at all, but maybe get an understanding as to why they don't want to talk about this. If there's feelings of betrayal or issues with cheating, then that's something you might need to work out with in a marriage counseling session or a sex therapy session. The two of you can work your way through that. I personally find that we tend to be in such a rush to get our point of view across, or to get somebody to agree with us and what we feel about something. Maybe just let the conversation sit. Let them think about it for a while. And in their time, their own time, they'll come back to you and maybe want to continue that conversation. Now, it's been my pleasure to discuss this topic with you. If you have any questions, simply DM or WhatsApp me. My details are on my website, claudesexologist.com. I've also got free courses that actually deal with this, and I've got some paid short self-help courses. And also don't forget about my Rekindle Intimacy program that is perfect for couples that are looking to just add a spark to their sex lives. Guys, it's fantastic. It's exciting. It's super hot and spicy. You'll love it. Also, I'm available for consulting. If this is an issue you really need assistance with, please send me a message. I can help you. If you're struggling to have this conversation with your partner and are looking to be a little more transparent in your relationship, are looking to expand your sexual interests and expression and pleasure with your partner, please message me. I can assist you. Guys, be good and kind to yourself and to others. Until next time.